Hi, good day, everyone. Well, you all know I'm always excited to be here with you all, but there is something that I need to touch on before I get into the question and answer segment that I would like to do with you all today. Now, I received a text message that was very distasteful, very, and honestly, that was the fastest. It really was the fastest that I've ever delete and block someone. You could ask my family members. I don't really like to block and delete people, but that was the fastest I've ever done it. Truly. The message I received was from a stranger. I don't know this individual. Basically asking me to let's go and have sex. And that's a clean version of what I actually received. And no, I don't agree with it. I say no to it. Because that's sexual harassment. And I say no to sexual harassment. And you see, this is what women, majority of women, because there is a percentage that men go through this as well. But woman has to face these things, especially in ministry. But woman on the whole, it's like I don't understand. I really don't understand. Like, what do you expect? I still trying to comprehend. Like, what did that person really expected me to say? Yes. Like, come on, that's foolishness. You all need to get it right, you know. You all really do, because that's not right. That's lustful. And guess what? Lust could either carry you in prison or it could cause death. That's just the truth. Because you could find yourself in a situation thinking that the person won't say anything about it. And then the person do say something about it. Because women is, supposed to be silent. Yeah, silent, agreed. But not when it comes to this foolishness. I am not going to be silent if I'm being, harassed. And neither should other women be silent about it. Or men be silent about it. That's foolishness. Absolute foolishness. So I'm just letting you guys know straight up. If you want to be blocked and delete, message me something like that. Please message me something like that again. And I will block and delete you happily. Because that is crazy. That's not right. Women shouldn't have to go through these things. They should be safe. I mean, men, you're supposed to be protecting women, not interfering with them and making them feel like if they're worthless. What you feel this is prostitution? This ain't prostitution. And yes, there are people out there that is doing prostitution, and that shouldn't even be the case. Because that person is doing prostitution due to the fact that they need money. It doesn't mean that they want to do something like that. You understand? They just want some help, some way to come off the floor. Because people tend to go to extents that they don't really want to go to. But that's not my case. That's very distasteful. And I do not agree with it. So if you have nothing good to say in my chats, please, for the love of Jesus, do not message me. Because if you message me, that will be the fastest way you are going to be blocked. Right? I just wanted to clear that air. Good? We good? Awesome. I'm glad we good. Right, so now that that is cleared up, now we can get into the real reason why we are here today, and that is to have a question and answer taking place here, where the question is, should a husband or wife have an issue with their spouse speaking to the opposite sex, right? But this is going to be done by a very, very, very special person to my heart. She's like a prophet in hiding. She really is. But she's going to be known today in Jesus' name. Hallelujah. Right? She is my sister, Leslie Ann Katoy. So let's invite her as she come and help us understand whether or not a spouse should get freedom to talk to the opposite sex. This is a real issue in the world today. People tend to try to control what their spouse are doing, and this needs to be answered. This needs to be clarified, so that way your relationship could go better, right? So, Prophet Leslie Ann, thank you for being here with us today.
Good morning, and thank you for having me on Life with Casey. My question today is, should a husband or wife have an issue with their spouse speaking to the opposite sex? When I heard the question, I was like, why is that even a question? But then I realized that this is an issue in many relationships, so it really is a valid question. There's no such thing as a stupid question. That's a saying, and it really is true. One, I see it as a form of control, and being controlling is witchcraft. In case you didn't know, being controlling is witchcraft. So if you are doing that, you are operating under witchcraft. You need prayers. That's one thing. You can't really control who your spouse speak to in terms of where do they work. Are they co-workers, the opposite sex? What about the boss? What about the customers, the clients? What about the friends that they had before you? Are you going to tell them, don't speak to your friend because that's the opposite sex and I don't feel comfortable? Let's talk about the real issue here. The real issue here is you. It's not your spouse or who they speak to, it's really you. Because I can see where you have trust issues. And personally, I believe that trust issues lead to communication issues. And if you have trust issues in your relationship at this point as husband and wife, then maybe you should not have been married in the first place. That's just my opinion. Because you have to deal with your trust issues before you go into a relationship with anybody at all. Any type of relationship, as a matter of fact. And to be husband and wife and you have trust issues, that's big, because as I said before, it leads to communication issues, and then we want to know why there's so much divorces in the world. That's why, because we never dealt with ourselves and we never dealt with the trust issues that we grew up with and we brought it into our relationship. That's one. Childhood insecurities. I never saw myself as pretty. I never saw myself as sexy. This goes to both male and female. So the moment I see my spouse speaking to the opposite sex, and the person may look more attractive than you, because there are people more beautiful than you, and it's an issue. You're bothered. But your spouse not doing anything wrong, though. They just stand up talking from what you can see. So that tells me that you need to deal with yourself. You need to do what you need to do to make yourself feel beautiful if you don't think you are, or go to the gym, make yourself feel sexy. Now, if you think you need to be doing all of this to charm your husband or your wife, then we have a problem. We didn't deal with certain things initially before we got into this marriage. That's how I see it. So you need to deal with your childhood insecurities. Yeah. What I suggest you do is you pray 24/7, not just for your spouse but for the relationship. And because sometimes you made the wrong choice, and that's why you have such issues in the first place. Because think about it. If God told me to pick you, my confidence is in God's choice. And I'm thinking, He's not going to allow me to pick somebody who's going to hurt me. Right? So then I am not going to be bothered if He speaks to a female that looks better than me, that's good looking. I'm not going to have a problem because I trust the choice of God. But most of us didn't really pick God's choice now, did we? Let's be honest here. We just pick because I find he looks nice, or I'm attracted to this one. It's my type. It's your type? How come you have trust issues now about your type? Think about it.
Right, I'm listening to you and actually agree to what you're saying because people have these childhood issues that they carry into relationships and they haven't dealt with it, and they're just going about the place just trying to manipulate their spouse due to the fact of their trust issues. So I don't know if you could get like deeper into that trust issues aspect, because I think that's a serious thing that we need to. Girl, how did you get a new background?
Yes, I had to change the scenery because the rain interrupted my other lovely view. And now I'm here. It's a bit noisy, but the view is nice. I love the little coconut trees, the little Caribbean vibes that it's given. Okay, so back to seriousness here. So as I was saying, now males do have an issue, yes they do, with their wives speaking to another male, but mostly we see it in the females, and it does not look good. It does not look good at all. So you have your trust issues, but you don't need to embarrass the male at the same time, your husband, because he may be speaking to another female, and guess what? You do not even know what they're talking about. And you would walk up, I've seen it many times. You walk up to the female and your husband, and you're there trying to embarrass yourself or trying to remind the world that this is my husband. So you walk up to him, baby, and all this foolishness. I mean, you look stupid. You look stupid and you look fake, because sometimes the way the husband would respond, we would recognize that, okay, this is not a norm. But you're doing it to make the female jealous or something, because that shouldn't be the case. You shouldn't try to have somebody else jealous of your relationship with your husband. You're thinking, right? But that's just me. That's what I see, and I find it looks stupid. I find it looks childish, and your husband could be talking about a business deal with this female. He could be getting advice that will help you in the future. He could really just be looking out for your interests. You ever thought of that? No, you didn't. But that's something to take into consideration as of today. And the next thing, what would you do if this female that your husband is speaking to is an ex, but he's still good with the person? They ended because the relationship wasn't really making sense, but they still remain friends. What would you do in that case? I should be answering that question, right? But I'm asking you. You think about it. Because you cause problems for yourself when you think that every female wants to be with your husband. No, they don't. Sometimes they're just friends, sometimes they're just advisors, and you're there embarrassing yourself thinking that everybody wants your husband. Now, don't get me wrong, because I know that most people will have an issue with their spouse speaking to the next one, and I already get the reasons why you would have the real issue, but then we know that they're the ones out there, the ones who they're really looking at your husband, lurking. They're really watching him and your wife. They really want to be with them. But how can you stop that? How can you tell which one of these females or male wants to be with your spouse? You cannot. So stop going about life embarrassing yourself and just pray. And you know what you need to do too? Talk to your husband, talk to your wife. And as I said, if you have an issue like trust that's really bad, then you're always going to have this problem. That's the end of that right there. You're always going to have a problem with your husband or wife speaking to the opposite sex because you need to deal with you. So if you don't want to have this problem in your life, you need to deal with yourself. You need to counsel yourself, get counseling, be positive, pray about the relationship, as I said before, because you will always have that problem, right? So deal with yourself. Grow up. Get rid of jealousy. Build your self-esteem. You know, the one that was caused with your childhood insecurities? Yeah, those. Get rid of your trust issues and your insecurities, as I just said. And unless you do that, you're gonna always have problems. Yeah? As I was saying before, they are the ones that do want your husband, but how do you tell which one wants your husband? So to prevent somebody wanting him, you will tell him, don't talk to no females. Wife, don't talk to no males. Nonsense. That's not possible in this world that we are living in. It's not possible. So you are just going to have to trust your husband, trust your wife, yeah, and speak to them. Don't be afraid to say, I didn't like how you was talking to this lady. No, nothing is really wrong with saying that. The issue is when you tell them don't do it. You can ask a question. What all I was talking about? I find it was looking a little suspicious. No, if you really have your trust issues and your insecurities, everything will look suspicious, huh? Don't cause more problems for yourself. If you know you have issues, don't ask anything. Yeah, don't embarrass yourself. Oh my gosh, stop it. Stop it. Grow up. Yeah, there's no way on earth for you to tell which one of these females or which one of these males are trying to thief your husband, because guess what, baby dolls? The ones that you think are after my man, they're after my woman, they're not. Most of the times they are not, and you end up embarrassing yourself and you cause conflict, and then it's a whole lot of negatives. You can never tell who really wants to be with your husband, or who are with your husband, or who's with your wife. You really cannot tell, because the ones that, as I said just now, the ones that you suspect may not be the one who's with your husband or who's with your wife. It's the ones that you least expect are doing it. So I understand why you would have an issue with your spouse speaking to the opposite sex, but that is not a good enough reason to try to control the person and tell them to not speak to the opposite sex, because we need each other in life for some reason or the other, and it has nothing to do with sexuality. So that's my input on if a husband or wife should have an issue with their spouse speaking to the opposite sex. I hope it helped you, and I hope as of today some of you, or if not all of you, who have those issues would change. And guess what? I guarantee you that there will be a change in your relationship. You would see it. You don't have to ask anybody. You would see it if you change your ways. New mindset. And as I said before several times, if you do have trust issues and insecurities, you probably choose the wrong spouse. Pray about it. Prayers works. God is still on the throne. He can change anything and anybody into who they are supposed to be, which is, we are supposed to be good people in this life, and God can change them around. It's turning around for you. Do have a good day, and thank you again for having me on Life with Casey.
Right, so thank you so much, Leslie Ann, for being here with us today. I truly appreciate it. It feels so weird calling you Leslie Ann. I'm so accustomed to calling you Les, but thank you so much, because the information that you gave was so sound, that is just the reality of life. Sometimes your spouse can be talking to someone to benefit you as an individual, to better you, that type of thing, business ideas. I mean, you don't know, so you can't just judge. You're standing at a distance judging. Don't do that, right? because you never know. You really never know. And then it have some cases where that person could be, the individual cousin. Like they could be really close with their cousin, but just you never saw their cousin before, and then it's like you just embarrass yourself. So keep away from the embarrassment now. Just stay away from the embarrassments, right? But if you guys want to hear more from Prophet Leslie Ann, you can visit her pages: Inspiration with Savon, Peaceful Nature with Savon, Woman I Am, and True Worshippers, right? I will link it to the top, but you can locate her on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube if you like, as well as TikTok. I'm not so sure which one she has. There's TikTok, but I would get the information and I'll attach it to the top for you guys so that y'all will be able to locate her, right? Yeah, but do have a blessed and beautiful, productive day, everyone. And just remember that you are one step closer to your final destination. I think I want to do a t-shirt with that. Like you are one step closer to your final destination, you know? Anywho, but have a beautiful day, y'all, and do take care. Bye-bye.